I'll call this meeting of the Seward City Council to order. It's Monday, August 11th, 7 p.m. Chief, would you please lead us in the
pledge? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Roll call for tonight's meeting. Werner?
Here.
Barnwell?
Here.
Wells?
Here.
Kreitz is excused. Finch?
Here.
Osenga?
Here.
And Mayor McClure.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We have a proclamation that's very dear to my heart tonight. They all seem to be lately, but this is for Margaret Anderson. And Rhonda and Jim, do you want to come up too? Or just anybody, and, stand there while you've seen the routine before. So we have this in memoriam proclamation for Margaret Anderson, and I think everyone knows that's Rhonda's mom, but if you didn't know. Whereas Margaret Anderson was born March 23rd, 1933 in Seward, Alaska, and she passed away June 18th, 2025 in Seattle, Washington. And whereas Margaret graduated from Seward High School in 1951 and spent her life in Seward. And whereas Margaret married Raymond Anderson of Chignik Lagoon, Alaska in 1953, and with him had 4 children. Together they owned 6 commercial vessels and owned and operated a seafood processing plant in Seward. They also co-owned and operated Texaco fuel distribution business in Seward from 1963 to 1981. And whereas Margaret was elected as one of the Pioneer Women of Alaska in 2013 and was awarded Exporter of the Year in 1991 as one of the world's largest exporters of herring roe. And whereas Margaret served on the Seward City Council from 1993 to 1997 and 2004 and was twice vice mayor, she served on the Planning and Zoning Commission from 2006 to 2009 and again from 2014 to 2018. And whereas Margaret was active in many organizations in Seward, including Resurrection Lutheran Church, the Seward Community Foundation, Boys and Girls Club, Seward Hospital Board, Seward Hospice, Seward Mariners Memorial, and the Seward Rotary Club. And whereas Margaret was a civic leader, an active member of our community, a vibrant and brilliant lady, and a good friend. She was one of Seward's finest treasures, and she will be missed. Now therefore I, Sue McClure, Mayor of the City of Seward, extend all of our deepest condolences and present this special recognition in memoriam to the family of Margaret Anderson, dated this 11th day of August 2025. And Rhonda, if you want to say a few things.
Yeah, actually, my mom wanted me to leave you guys with some notes. So
she kept
a lot of journals and files, and yeah, so I found them, and one of many. And so I thank you for this. My mom would be quite humbled. I'm Margaret's only daughter of 3 older brothers, and this is my husband Jim, and he was my mom's favorite son-in-law. In fact, it took him a while. We moved here in 1988 after we got married to even have his own identity and name. He was always considered Margaret Anderson's son-in-law or Jim Anderson.
Or 10 years ago.
Yeah, it took about 10 years. But when my mom served on council, on those years noted, I remember some of the tougher issues that she pushed for Seward. And as it turns out, they happen to be some of the bigger fund and service drivers in the city of Seward's budget today, and those being the bed tax and the paid parking in the harbor. And they were very contentious issues, and she got a lot of blowback, and so much so that I'd find her on the couch with an ice pack on her head. I mean, she really took her job serious. It was tough times, but when I ran across this file, I found several notes and quotes that she collected during those years, and one reminder note that she had was that political life teaches you one thing: you can't please everybody, and if you try, you'll end up pleasing not anybody. So she even had a letter of tips from Mayor McClure's aunt. I'm going to throw this back at you.
Who was the mayor in the 70s?
Yeah, Lee McInerney. And she also served as just mayor or also a member? I couldn't remember if she was a council member too or just mayor.
Just mayor, I think.
Yeah, that too, of course, or all of that. And so anyway, she had this note, handwritten note by her, and it said, it was a council person's checklist is how it was titled. And it listed 14 tips to keep in mind as a council member. And all you guys would appreciate this, I'm sure. And I'm not going to name all 14 of them, but a few mentioned were like, don't let pressure groups sway your better judgment, represent your entire community when making decisions, run the city like a business, need to know your officials. And so, but then at the end, they were all capsulated and summed up with this concluding remark. It said, remember, problems begin at home, so logical solutions are at home. So my mom saved letters that she would write council members later and winning candidates, and she would sign them an old timer in Seward. I guess that was assumed to garner her more respect. But the last little nugget of quote that I found in her file, that I think we can all go home with, it said, service is rent you pay for being here. So take that message home and let's pay our rent by doing a little service somewhere. So thank you guys for serving as well.
One of the best things about Margaret was after particularly trying council meetings, I'd check my phone and she'd say, I have dinner for you if you'd like, in conversation. So she took care of me at the beginning of this whole trick. Now we come to citizen comments on any subject except items scheduled for public hearing. We have one public hearing item, and you can speak at that time to that. You'll have 3 minutes. There's a total of 36 minutes, and people who signed in get first shot, and then I'll take hands. We should be able to get everybody in that time frame. Mr. Clerk, who is signed in?
There are 5 people signed in to speak. First on the list is Tori Stallings.
And what we need is your name, when you get seated and ready, your name and if you live inside or outside the city limits, just for the record. Okay, Tori?
My name is Tori Stallings, and I live inside city limits.
Okay.
I know what it's like to be trapped in addiction. I spent 2 years strung out on meth and heroin. I did things I would never do in my sober mind, but I also know what it's like to fight for your life back. I went to rehab 9 years ago for 60 days and spent 5 months in a halfway house. I've relapsed a few times, but I've never gone back to where I was in my active addiction. I've been in recovery for years now, but addiction has still touched my family in devastating ways. The father of my children overdosed and died on October 13th, 2023 here in town. I've always kept Narcan in my home. About 2 years before my children's father passed away, he used that Narcan to save a friend's life. Without it, that friend would not be here today. It works, it's safe, it buys people the time they need to survive and maybe recover like I did. Overdoses are happening everywhere in our town, in bathrooms, parking lots, and homes. Funding free Narcan boxes in accessible locations means that help is always close. You don't have to be a doctor to save a life, you just need Narcan and the willingness to use it. I am proof that recovery is possible, but first, people have to survive. Please give our community that chance. Let's put free Narcan where it can save lives. If Narcan can give someone one more breath, one more day, one more chance, isn't that worth it?
Thank you.
Thanks, Tori.
Who's next?
Christiana Smith.
My name is Christiana Smith. I live outside of Seward city limits. I'm here to give a comment in support of the paid parental leave policy on today's consent agenda. Within it, it states one of the positive outcomes of paid parental leave decreasing neonatal infant mortality by up to 13%. The Alaska Children's Trust also talks about paid family and medical leave, and one of the benefits is a 15% decrease in maternal depression. The Alaska Network for Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault has information on family-friendly workplace policies and how they contribute to domestic violence. And they cite a study in Australia that found women working during early pregnancy who qualified for paid maternity leave were significantly less likely to experience physical and emotional intimate partner violence in the first 12 months postpartum that women experience not working. This finding suggests that access to paid maternity leave may be a protective factor against intimate personal violence, in addition to helping women maintain employment and potentially reduce mental health issues. These are benefits to the beneficiaries of paid parental leave. Alaska's Children's Trust also talks about the benefits for employers that offer paid parental leave policy. There's typically a decrease in maternal workforce exits. There's an increase in likelihood of mothers returning to their pre-birth employer 1 year post-birth, decrease in employee turnover. And so I think it's worth investing in the city employees to offer paid parental leave. The ordinance discusses what Anchorage Assembly has provided, talks about offering up to 4 weeks within 12 months of the event. That is a start. I would love to see it be discussed for 6 to 8 weeks because typically we don't have an OBGYN or a hospital to give birth in. You're typically going to go up to Anchorage or over to Selena 1 to 2 weeks before birth, and then typically don't return to work until 4 to 6 weeks after. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, who's next?
Shane Hand.
Shane Hand, within city limits. I'm here on behalf representing the Seward Public Employees Association as their president. I'd like to start off with speaking to the ordinance that was just talked about in regards to the paid family leave. As a union president and a speaking member for my membership base, I know that the employees would very much appreciate this, and I think it'd be a step in the right way. I firmly believe that there's strength in numbers, strength in solidarity, and it takes a village, to work together, and this is where the village begins. And so, I do believe that the city could offer that and just strengthen its appeal to people, and overall its dedication to its employees and ultimately its community. So I do look forward to hopefully seeing this progress. And again, it has the full endorsement of the collective bargaining unit, which is our union. And then also I'd like to speak to the ordinance. It's 25-013 in regards to the administration sort of cleaning up some of the language in regards to our collective bargaining agreement and the representation and overall, coverage of all bargaining members that are not excluded from our collective bargaining agreement. So I think this is a very good and important first step towards reaching our tentative agreement and our negotiations that we just went through, and hopefully we can ratify a new collective bargaining agreement. To that effect, I would like to thank personally the administration and commend them for our negotiation sessions and what we were able to work towards. And again, it was very, I thank the administration very much. It was a very constructive and productive process, and I am only encouraged of where we can go as a collective bargaining agreement, where we can go as a city, and how we can provide the best services for our citizens. And if this partnership that we sort of started cultivating, or nourishing, if you will, working towards, is a very, very big step in the right way and our right direction. And I really appreciate the city's commitment and the administration's commitment to my bargaining, my members. And other than that, I look forward to, again, I really do think that the paid parental leave is a great idea, and I would like to see it, sort of grow up. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean. Mr. Clerk?
Kevin Denham.
Kevin Dunham, outside city limits. Honorable Mayor McClure and council members, thanks for allowing an out-of-towner to speak. The Madawaska contract runs out at the end of the year, and several of us are concerned that we haven't seen anything where you're actually actively trying to get a new manager yet. I could be wrong, but if you're not, it would be so beneficial to have a new manager come on and be trained by Brian Hickey. If at all possible, I think you should be, the cost, from what I understand, is about twice what it is to have Madawaska running the system versus if we had our own manager and assistant manager. Your customer survey had several questions related to transparency. Well, this is one where, could you come out and tell us what's the plan? Are you planning on extending the MEA contract, or are we going to get a manager of our own here that lives in the community? So if possible, get a manager on board and have Brian change or train them. Brian is so well respected within the power system community, but he's getting as old. He's almost my age, so he's not going to be around forever. I'm sure there'll be other people that are available, but I think you can hire somebody. People want to come to this community. Hire them, get them trained, and the other thing was your new power contract with Chugach. You did a great job on that, and I think you're going to find that the ability to sell power is going to be a benefit to us. Remember what happened in Texas when they had the big failure? Companies that had extra generation that could supply it were being paid as much as $1,000 a megawatt. Your 13 megawatts out here could help the system tremendously and make some money for you. It'll more than pay for the fuel. Great job on the contract. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Mr. Clerk?
So I'm having some trouble reading this handwriting. Does anyone remember who signed up next after Kevin? Was it maybe a Melody?
Okay, come on up.
I'll print next then.
It's all good.
Hi, my name's Melody Story. I do live outside the city limit, yes. I am the Director of Patient Care Services at Providence Seward Medical Center, and we also wanted to talk about our Narcan kits that we have. So we do have 100 of these that we got from Project Hope, setting in our security office. I think one of the problems with just having it in our security office is that most people aren't going to come into a hospital and go to a security office to pick up Narcan kits, right? So we can talk about what's in here, but I'm just going to go over a few things here really quick. So thank you for the opportunity to present our community opioid rescue kit response plan to the City Council today. This initiative is more than a project. It is a critical, coordinated effort to address the opioid crisis head-on and save lives here in our community. Over the next few minutes, I'll walk you through a vision. We're saving lives through access, education, and action, and how working together we can turn this plan into a reality that makes a lasting difference. Before we talk about solutions, it's important to understand the challenge we're facing right here in our community. The rising crisis, the opioid crisis has been steadily worsening in our community with a significant increase in overdoses in recent months. These aren't just statistics. They represent neighbors, friends, and family members whose lives have been cut too short. Deadly potency. So fentanyl, a synthetic opioid, is an extremely potent drug, 50 to 100 times stronger than morphine. Even the smallest amount can be deadly, and it's increasingly showing up in substances where people don't expect it, often without their knowledge. Overdoses can happen anywhere, to anyone, regardless of their background or circumstances. This is a universal public health issue that touches every part of our community, whether through personal use, accidental exposure, or someone we care about being at risk. Recognizing the severity of this crisis is the first step towards building an effective community-driven solutions that can save lives. Naloxone, or Narcan, commonly known by the brand name Narcan, is a safe and highly effective nasal spray designed to reverse the effects of an opioid overdose. So in our kits, we have 2 doses of Narcan. These are really easy to use. I opened up one of these packages. I'll just give you an example here. Basically, put it in the nose and you spray in one nostril. You wait 2 to 3 minutes. If no response, you can give another dose. So each one of these come with 2. So anyway, I'll just go through this really, really quick. So we also have a fentanyl. Yes, ma'am.
Hold on one second. Can we suspend the 3 minutes? Do we agree? Okay, just a couple more minutes.
Sure. So we have the fentanyl testing strips in here as well. And there are instructions. And then there's also step-by-step instructions as well. I'll go through really quick. When we give out these kits, it says exactly how to use it and what to do. So you want to, if you find somebody that's in respiratory distress, in other words, slow breathing or not breathing at all, the first thing you want to do is call 911. If you call for help, you shake them and there's no response, or their pupils are pinpoint, very, very small, you want to give a dose of Narcan, and then you want to repeat that in 2 or 3 minutes if there's no response and no improvement. Okay, but you definitely want to call 911. The thing with Narcan is it only lasts a short period of time, and the drug that they have on board, the opioid, lasts much longer, so they can go right back into the overdose. So that's really important that you call 911 and you have them come to the hospital so we can monitor them and make sure that they don't slip back into that. We do have these at the security office, but we would like to have these dispensed in other places that are more public. What we have found that different Providence in Texas and in California have dispensers in public areas that dispense these kits that is way more private. Not so much of a stigma to it. You can just walk up and grab it. Nobody has to know about it. It's free, no ID, anything. So we were thinking maybe the harbor master, putting a dispenser there, and maybe library, high school. But it's just kind of in the beginning, phase.
So we'll be discussing this, I believe. So thank you. And there is a time at the end of the meeting, you have 5 minutes to speak. So if you want to continue.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Is there, that was the last signed in?
That's correct.
Okay. We still have time, so is there anyone else that would like their 3 minutes now? We have time. Okay. All right, so we will move along then to the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda. I'd ask for a motion to approve and a second, please.
I'll move for approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, I'll ask for changes to the consent, or to the agenda. I have one that I'd like to put in first. I'd like to move, it turns out it's New business, number 10, B1, oh, excuse me, 10, C1, the reappointment of Dwayne Atwood to PACCAB. I'd like to move that to the consent agenda. If there's no complaint, he couldn't be here tonight. Okay. Any other changes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, let me get Councilmember Warner first, please.
Thank you, Mayor McClure. I would like to add a discussion item under C1 to discuss the available resources of Narcan and our rescue kits available to the public.
Okay. We will do that. And
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to,
Councilmember Finch.
thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pull 2025-12 for discussion.
Okay, so you'd like to remove ordinance 2025-12 from the consent agenda? So
Yes.
we can discuss. Any other changes? Okay, Mr. Clerk, I think we're ready to vote then.
Okay, and just a quick note here, the introduction for that ordinance will be the first on the list for new business.
First in new business. Yeah, that moves it down. I'm sorry, you're right.
That will come before the resolution.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
Okay, voting on the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda as amended. Osenga?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Barnwell?
Yes.
Finch?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, your agenda and consent agenda have been approved, and on the consent agenda is the July 28th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes, the introduction of Ordinance 2025-011, amending Seward City Code Title V Revenue and Finance, Chapter 5.22 Developer Incentive and Reimbursement Program, 5.22.075 Application Required, 5.22085 Application Content, and 5.22095 Approval Process. The introduction of Ordinance 2025-013, amending Seward City Code Title III Personnel, Chapter 3.65 Collective Bargaining, 3.65.010 Freedom of Choice, to clarify employees' rights within the bargaining unit. And the resolutions, Resolution 2025-076, authorizing the city manager to purchase a 50-ton marine travel lift for the harbor department in the amount of $619,500 plus a 10% contingency. Resolution 2025-077, awarding the Nash Road Phase 2 115 kV transmission line rebuild project to Sturgeon Electric Company in the amount of $1,955,412 plus a 10% contingency. And Resolution 2025-078, authorizing the city manager to purchase replacement parts for a transruptor switch from Southern States in the amount of $39,265. And lastly, to reappoint Dwayne Atwood to the Port and Commerce Advisory Board with a term set to expire July 2028.
Okay, thank you. That now brings us, we don't have any presentations, that brings us to the city manager report. You'll find this on page 115 of the packet, and when you're ready, Madam City Manager, you can give a report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Something really exciting that was highlighted in the City Manager Report on page 123 is the restarting of the Mount Marathon Hydro project that the Electric Department has been working on. And so on 123, you'll see a photo of the intake pipe in 1981 at the reservoir at the top of Mount Marathon, and the intake pipe today showing that that intake pipe is covered by a lot of gravel. There's definitely some more precise terms, but I'm going to go with a lot. And so the Electric Department is looking through what this small-scale project would mean to bring back online, showing a meaningful step towards diversifying our power generation portfolio, and hopefully leading towards what some people mentioned in public comment, being able to sell power out in other aspects and other ways. So we are looking through the preliminary cost estimates and pretty hopeful that it won't be too much, so excited to see that move forward. So if you see any action up there, that is what that is about. I'd also like to give a shout out to the entire community. The summer reading program wraps up this week, and the entire community has done about 175,000 minutes of reading, which totals 120 straight days. So really excited to see the progress of that program over the years and how engaged the community was from children to adults in summer reading. And then tonight on the consent agenda, you approved the purchase of a 50-ton marine travel lift. And I did want to note in that cost is actually going to probably come down in the long run because we are going to trade in our current lift. It has enough life left in it to still get some value once it gets refurbished and sold, so we're excited to be able to do that at this point, so that number will come down once we get the final value for that trade-in. So other than that, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions for City Manager? While you're thinking about that, Mr. Bickling, do you have anything to add?
No comments, thank you.
I forgot about you, sorry.
I actually have one
Yeah,
question.
Councilmember Barlow.
You guys probably don't have this, but I'm just going to throw it out there. It says 95 B&B rental units in the city of Seward. Do you guys have any idea what's in the outlying areas?
No.
More.
Really?
Yeah, more would be the
Well,
answer.
more than 95?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we did look a couple of years ago because on the software that community development has, we can actually look in like the whole entire area, but then we just obviously only have control over what's inside city limits. And so ours has been pretty steady in that mid-90s range, but outside of city limits, it's more and growing. So, but if you do want that specific information, we can get that for you at the next meeting from community development.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Jason, can you just give us a reminder? I've asked this a couple of times with you, but just to remind people of how we've changed the B&B laws and within the city that limits the amount of B&Bs we have now. What kind of controls do we have at this point?
I know we changed basically some zoning, so that way under certain zones it has to be owner occupied with not more than 50%. And so we changed that. I think it was it's been a couple of years, so I don't remember the specifics, but it's changed in some of the residential districts. So, but I mean, really, if you look at the fact that the numbers have been pretty flat,
yeah,
that's actually like what we did was worked.
Yeah.
And
as far as we did want to create a limit, but yet still allow businesses to function in certain zones, and so I think that's worked.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments? Nice report. Thank you. Okay, City Clerk report. You have a report.
Thank you, Mayor McClure. There's a couple topics in my clerk report. The first one is a reminder that the filing period is open to be on council. There's 2 seats to be a council member and 1 seat for mayor. And stop by the clerk's office until 5 p.m. this Friday to put your name in the hat. And then the other part of my report was an update on the Obahiro Student Exchange. The 4 students from Obahiro were here, and we had the best possible weather, and everyone had a great time.
It was raining. It was raining. We were standing in that picture. It was one of those, but still, that's possible.
Bookended by rain. They looked like it was raining too.
There you go.
And then our group is currently in Japan. They just touched down over the weekend, so I'm excited to hear more about their adventures. We'll have more for you on that in the next packet.
Thank you. I took them on the mural tour, which sounds really boring, but we did it in the car, so we didn't have to walk the whole 30-some of them, but and we had lunch. So we have a presentation from Seward Education Advocates, and you'll have 10 minutes, and come on up and do what you're doing. These are some advocates right here.
There's more than just us, we know. Just the ones who were willing to sacrifice. Okay. As a parent of 2 recent Seward High School graduates and the president of Seward School Site-Based Council for the past 15 years, I've worked alongside many others to advocate
to the school district, the borough, and the state for increased educational opportunities for students in our Seward schools. The budget difficulties at the state level have brought significant cuts and dramatic uncertainty to our already limited schools. Year after year, we've watched programs shrink and essential opportunities disappear. All 3 of our Seward schools have faced declining resources, fewer core classes, and almost no access to the electives or the arts. To give just one example, when my son started kindergarten in 2010, Seward High School had 175 students and 10 and a half classroom teachers. Last year, the student population was nearly the same, 173 students, but with only 6 classroom teachers. This year, we are in the most dire situation that I've ever seen. In June, not only were we told that we were looking at not having any art, music, drama, or any electives in our schools, we were told we also may not be able to hire a science teacher for our high school, a CTE, Korean technical education teacher, or a middle school math teacher. Even with the recent good news that the BSA, base student allocation, which is the funding from the state, was increased by $700 per student, bringing in more revenue for our district, our schools are still facing dramatic cuts in our schools. This is just a list of the things that are still happening this year in our schools with the budget increase. Seward Elementary lost 2 classroom teachers. They lost a counselor position. We're being allowed to keep her 1 more year because of a grant. We've lost the Quest program for both the elementary and the middle school completely. At middle school, we've lost our principal. We don't have Quest there anymore. We've lost an intervention or credit recovery support, which was a full-time certified teacher, and athletic stipends are reduced by 50% at the middle school. Oh, push the wrong button. Got it. At the high school, we've lost 2 non-tenured teachers, a CTE, Career and Technical Education, and our intervention and credit recovery teacher. We've lost our theater tech. We have a 50% reduction in distance ed in middle college, which over 85% of our students take distance ed just to meet core graduation requirements. Loss of a student support liaison, reduction of sports travel and safety funds, 50% reduction of athletic stipends, and our pool's only going to be able to be open 1 more year. So even with the sort of recent good news, these are still happening this year in our schools. It became clear to a group of us that while advocacy must continue to the state, the borough, and district, it is time to reimagine what education can look like in our community. An education that reflects Seward's values, our place, and our resources. Seward can find a way to improve education for our children, despite volatile state funding and inequitable district staffing. It is time for us to collaborate and create education opportunities within Seward that reflect the values of our unique community, and we created Seward Education Advocates. To make this a reality in our schools. This is our mission that we came up with to advance educational excellence in the Seward area through community collaboration, educator support, and place-based, culturally relevant learning opportunities. We are collaborating with organizations like Seward Prevention Coalition, as this perfectly fits with their mission and strategic plan, the Sea Life Center, the Park Service, the Chugach Regional Resource Commission, Alutiiq Pride Marine Institute, and AVTEC, and also local teachers, parents, and business owners. Our goal is to creatively expand opportunities for students through additional core classes, electives, educational support, clubs, career days, job shadowing, and internships. Research clearly shows that student success is directly linked to family and community engagement. SEA is committed to bringing our community together to define our strengths and rebuild our schools around them. Our schools are essential, not just for our children, but for our local economy, our community stability, and our long-term success. Right now, our schools are the weakest link in Seward, and more families are leaving because of that every year. That must change. We believe that Seward can lead the way in creating a more resilient, locally driven model of education. Our schools are the heart of our community. It's time to give them the strength they need and the future our children deserve. And Andrew's going to tell us.
Yeah, I'm Andrew Scribo, live in city limits if it matters. I work for the Seward Prevention Coalition. I'm the director of Youth 360, which is our implementation of the ISENIC prevention model. I've spoken with you all before about that. These are our 6 main goals in our 10-year strategic plan at the coalition, and so the capacity building and sort of being a connector across the community, trying to engage and empower people to do something to make our environment a safer place to be a kid. and a healthier place for people to live in Seward across the lifespan. Like you can see here, directly fits into our strategic plan and mission. It's interesting sitting here listening to Rhonda and, I forgot your name? Shane. To Shane. You heard comments like it takes a village and services, the rent we pay to live here. And so I think, this all really meshes with the message here that, it takes no time to do nothing at all. And that's the easy thing, right? But as a community, when we're talking about environmental change, I think we need a call to action. And so as we've sat back and watched our opportunities and funding sources shrink at the state and the borough level for years, I think if education and quality education is a priority and a value in this community, truly it's time to step up and put some money and some time where our mouth is. I think a Seward High School diploma should be reflective of the strengths of our community. I think kids that go to school in other places should be jealous of our kids because they got to go to science class in a community that has access to Kenai Fjords National Park, because they got to learn trades and get dual credit courses and get certificates in a place that hosts the state technical school. We have so much strength in our community that I think it's time to tap into those strengths. And for the first time, in light of the budget and the disagreements that have been going on, I think that the Kenai Peninsula Borough School District is really flexible in ways that they never were before. Last Friday I had a meeting, we all had a meeting with some of the upper administration and the director of HR, and said, where is the flexibility? What are the hoops we need to jump through to get more educational opportunities for our kids? And it was a really promising conversation, talking about things like Type M certifications, which is electives that can be taught by sort of area experts that don't have teaching credentials. That was a conversation that was not really on the table before. Talking about increasing FTE, full-time equivalency. For instance, if we're paying, if they have in their budget half-time art teacher, we can provide the funds to make them full-time, and it's a seamless and it's one of the easiest things that we can do. Other than that, there's some different certification sort of ways in when you're talking about credit-bearing opportunities, especially at the high school level, right? You've got accredited educational institutes that have thresholds, but being an adjunct professor at KPC, offering dual credit courses. But anyway, it's a time to be creative. It's a time for action, and it's a time to come together as a community and show that we value education and that we want people to live here. Because if we want families to move here, or even the families that currently live here to stay here, they need to feel that their children are being prepared for the rest of their lives. And we can't sit back and let the borough and the state educate our kids anymore, or depend on them to do that on their own. And this is not a knock against them, but a call for collaboration. This is us, how can we as a city of Seward come in and engage and empower the community, from the top down, side to side, across all sectors, however you support youth and families and kids in the community, what can you do? So, I think I've got two little QR codes here. This is an email connection, which anyone, and we'll make this public and you'll see it on posters later, but basically this is a one-stop shop if you're saying, how do I get involved? This will take you to a form that says, who do you want to be involved with? Organizations like Seward Area Site-Based Council, PTA, Seward Prevention Coalition, U360, us, the Seward Education Advocates, etc. And then the second one is a donate button, because this falls under the mission and strategic plan of the Seward Prevention Coalition. It was very easy for me to set up a tax-deductible donation page on our website that we can collect funds, and people can write in and there's a comment box if you want to be very specific to what your donation goes towards. Otherwise, it'll go towards capacity building and trying to bring educational opportunities to our kids. And we would love to, if this is the appropriate time or place, to request a work session so we can have more of a back and forth longer conversation about how you guys can be
Wait,
involved.
your timing is perfect. We'll talk about the work session at some point, but before you scurry off, are there questions or comments we can?
Sure. The beaver makes you want to scurry.
Scurry. Questions, comments? I know that Councilmember Barnwell will have something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. I could speak all day about this, you guys know that. The one thing that really sticks out for me that I wonder if you had talked to the administration is this whole disparity test and how that might fit into our plans or your plans. Because I know we are limited as a city or as a locality on how much funds we can dump into local education because it has to be equitable within the state.
Right.
Can you guys speak to that at all, or is that something that you're not really
So
there yet?
I actually don't hear in my right ear, so I actually missed like half of what you just
So
said.
we've talked about it.
You talking about the deed thing?
Yeah.
Disparity.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, but we've decided not to worry too much about it because it would essentially shut down, I think, what we are hoping to do in the community if they pass what their proposal is right now. But that decision won't be made till October, so we're not gonna worry about that till October because we're really trying to find ways to help our students in our schools and improve our schools immediately or as fast as we can. So we're gonna blaze forward as if that's not gonna pass because it's gonna be really damaging to all of our schools if that does pass.
Can I do a follow-up? Can I do a follow-up?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just, maybe on that note, we could encourage people to reach out to their legislators about supporting or not supporting that, passing that
My
new
understanding is it's
disparity.
not a legislative decision, this is a decision that
Pure
will be
government.
made at Department of Education only, and the public comment period has closed. So we were really pushing people to put a public comment in before the 25th, because that was so important. But this is a decision that, my understanding, will be made in October by the Department of Education without legislative input.
Okay. Thanks, it's a great presentation, I really applaud what you guys are doing.
Look forward to
Thank
that
you.
creativity.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask, do we want a break before we continue, or are we good to go? Good to go? Okay. Thank you for that. We have a public hearing next, and it is a resolution 2025-074. When you're ready, Mr. Clerk.
So Madam Mayor, the ordinance would be first, right?
No, the public hearing resolution.
Oh, the
is
public hearing,
first.
sorry, Chris, I was doing the clerk's
I know,
job,
I'm
my
doing
mistake.
You're thinking new business.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. It gets more confusing as the evening goes on.
I put the arrow to the wrong direction, I apologize.
Mr. Clerk, could you read it, please?
Resolutions requiring public hearing. Resolution 2025-074, approving a master agreement to terminate the leases and easement near 301 Lowell Point Road and describe concepts for a new lease near 3201 Sorrel Road between the City of Seward and Pacific Seafood.
Okay, and you'll find that on page 128 of the packet. I'd like a motion to approve in a second, please.
I move for the approval of Resolution 2025-074.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is one piece to a puzzle that we have been chipping away at now for quite a while, but I will let our Public Works Director, Doug, speak more to this resolution. Doug?
Okay, and I don't know the order of when is public hearing after we introduce, or however you do it, but I can move.
Oh, no, I usually will get all the input first, and then I'll open the public hearing, and then you may come back for questions
Okay.
from
All right,
us.
so what we've got here on this resolution, we have listed as Pacific Bay, or Pacific Seafoods, which is actually Resurrection Bay Seafoods right out here on Lowell Point Road. They're the parent company, and the name will stay at Pacific Seafoods instead of Resurrection Bay, or maybe DBA. So that's what we're talking about on the leases and the easement portion as far as canceling leases over here. The idea is having them move over across to where Polar Seafoods is across the bay. They have a harbor there that they can use and unload at the old Polar, which has been vacant. They had Ornstein Seafood's in for a while, and then they pulled out, but they were just subleasing from Polar. So it's a Polar lease over there, Pacific lease over here. And the idea is, as we were getting more into the Army Corps of Engineers tunnel program, which goes out to bid next February, March, right in there. They said February 1st, and last I heard was March or April, but they're just finishing some more things on it. But it'll go out to bid then, and they hope to award it then October of 26 of next year. So as that gets awarded to a construction company, the traffic on Lowell Point Road certainly is impacted. We're trying to keep that open, but the Resurrection Bay, with their big tractor trailers trying to come and go, I went to them and said, hey, would you guys be interested in this? Can you move over here? Is this something that would work out? And at first it wasn't quite what they wanted. They just had built a new ice house over here on this side, put a lot of money into their ice plant and making that part work. But it's a tougher spot over here for sure. As we kind of continued through, it's been going on for over a year, kind of discussions, and it's taken off pretty good. They made a decision that if they can make it work with Polar, they have to purchase those assets to take over that lease to then be able to move. So there's a lot of moving parts here to try to get through, and what the master agreement here is doing is kind of putting those things in order, and everybody's saying what we're going to do so we can do it. We'll come back to you with a new lease agreement that we have to go through and go through all the proper channels. So this is not that. This is being able to set a date to cancel the old leases. Resurrection Bay can't just hope they get this one done and then not have this, or vice versa, end up with two leases. So we're trying to have everybody commit to each other, Polar included in the discussions, trying to get that all set up. But it's been a very productive, and honestly, it's pretty exciting. We're hoping that it makes the Army Corps project so much better, and I can tell you it will. There's some big things that'll come after this that we've discussed on how and what, and that'll come out, but it's really a good thing for the city. There's some issues with how everything goes, but there were some, we had a letter that came through, a lay down as far as different things of who has to do cleanup on which ones. Well, their leases do say they did. We did have a Raybo Marine a few years ago that just walked away. That's not what this is. This is, they're setting their leases to clean up their messes and make it right. Over there, Polar can, if the two agree, Polar and Pacific can inherit that depending on what's all there, because there is some equipment that's in that one lot that's got a bunch of fisherman stuff. It's got equipment that does go to the plant, and it's got some junk. So how they make that deal, it's not the city's. We know we have the lease that whoever leaves it at the end has to have it clean, but if one needs it, or if they make a deal that, hey, we'll get this stuff out of there for you, that's between Polar and Pacific on that one. But there are some things that, and the author of the letter did come across a few things on there. There were some spelling things, and I'd ask that maybe we let the clerk write out Lowell Point. The and, instead of having the and, the little asterisk, make it the word and. Those small, there's some of those small corrections that need to be. There was a question on, it said at the end of Lowell Point Road on a couple of spots. Well, there's two ends to Lowell Point Road. Honestly, but to change it and scratch and say it just off Lowell Point Road is fine too. It still is, there was just a description on there, and then when you get to the real document, it lists the actual lot numbers and everything there. It tells what they are, what the leases are, and goes through all that. So that part is not a hard thing to do, but there is something on the master agreement, and I'll give you the page number. Page 143. I'll let you get there. It'll be the first whereas. When the addresses, descriptions for Pacific Seafood were pulled, which also includes Dolchuk Investments, you'll see them on some things. That's part of Pacific. That's their real estate group in the same business. So Dolchuk Investments, it's actually their housing out Lowell Point Road, which is not part of this deal. But that description got pulled into on the first whereas, and you read partway through it where the records of Seward Recording District, 3rd Judicial District, State of Alaska, and then starting at and, lots 15 to 17, Block 2, Martin Subdivision, down to the last line to the next and Seward City Council resolution. In between from the word and down to the, where it says and Seward City Council, just stop at that and that just needs to be deleted. It was just an added in there. So it's just a correction to make, to strike out. And then that was a good catch. The author of the letter brought it up, we kind of looked through it and went, oh, that got pulled in and left. So that's actually not part of that description. We need to pull it out. A little bit of complications on this side as far as what we have over here with the Resurrection Bay Seafoods. There is 3 lots, but the outer 2 are lease lots. And in between the lease lots is an easement that was recorded way back. And it was kind of fitting to have Margaret Anderson honored today because they used to own the seafoods there. Back then, Margaret had went through and the state awarded the tidelands to the city. Well, the dock and the building were in the tidelands, just off the edge of their property. So there was some back and forth on how it's not illegal, it wasn't their fault, but it was kind of a back and forth. So they ended up making a road easement, and that was about the time with the sewer line going out through Lowell Point Road. And so they made an easement for the road and sewer line, which is a little wider than what it is trying to get by there. It's pretty narrow, but it does go up into those rocks. But we have some issues with the waterfall coming behind those rocks and gathering water. But that's an easement there's 2 easements, a road easement that Dole Chucker back then, they gave the city, and then in return, there was another easement where the dock and the buildings are. And so that's in between the 2 lease lots. The 2 lease lots are basically, mostly their water, gives them the spots to dredge so their boats can come in. There's a little bit of property on each end. They can store a few things, but it just complicates a little bit how we're doing those things. And so, the end as we're going through this as the master agreement is to say, okay, ideally, everything reverts back to the city on this side, and Pacific moves over to the Polar plant on the other side. That's the end of what we're getting to with it. And so getting the easement stopped, we had a reversionary clause that if they didn't use it for 18 months, the easement would revert back to the city. But it also allowed almost any use you could think of on it. So it's just been kind of a tough. It keeps filling in, and it'll continue to fill in with the Army Corps tunnel tailings that come out of the tunnel. And it's going to keep being a kind of a thorn, and this actually takes care of a lot of other issues and benefits the city on how we're going to restructure those lease lots over there. So with that, I think I've covered the changes that we need to go through on, and I'd be taking any questions, or
We'll wait until after the public hearing, okay?
I'll have to come back.
You'll have to stay. Did you have anything to add?
I would just add that to make those edits as recommended, we can do so since it still maintains and preserves the meaning. So if passed as presented, we can make those adjustments afterwards since the meaning is adjusted. So we don't have to make amendments to change ampersands.
They're technical amendments.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I'll open the public hearing on Resolution 2025-074. Mr. Clerk, has anyone signed in to speak?
Nobody is signed in.
Does anyone wish to speak? Come on up.
Carol Griswold, inside city limits. Thank you all for being here. It's wonderful. I appreciate that Doug Chesler reached out to me about my letter of concerns on this resolution. In response to our discussion, he has provided the missing graphics and verified that the Martin subdivision is not part of this agreement. He explained that only the ice house might be needed until October 31st, 2026, and the rest of the facility will not be needed after March 30th, 2026, assuming Pacific Seafood will be operating at the Polar Seafood site by next year. He also noted that various typos could be corrected, perhaps as housekeeping, as alluded to by Kat. I remain concerned about the lease allowing Pacific Seafood to, quote, return the property to the city's control. No building inspection for soundness or hazardous materials or appraisal will be required before the city assumes ownership. I find this is not in the public's interest. Old buildings like the Jesse Lee home and the contaminated lease sites like Rabo that have reverted to the city ownership by default have resulted in a considerable fiscal note for the public. I'm also concerned that the lease allows Polar Seafoods to walk away from its decades-long collection of personal property. It is the city's responsibility, not Pacific Seafood, to require Polar Seafoods to remove and dispose of their extensive stuff and restore the property to the vacant condition it was before. Let Pacific Seafood start with a clean slate, not an eyesore. The U.S. Coast Guard Fast Cutter property is right next door. This reflects very poorly on the city. If the city ends up having to clean it up, there will be another considerable fiscal note for the public. I raised other questions in my letter that have not yet been addressed. This important master agreement needs to be more thoroughly vetted before council approval to ensure that it is clear, accurate, and in the public's best interest. I encourage council to postpone to a special meeting or to the next regular council meeting on August 25th. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Carol. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to this? Come on up. You get 5 minutes for these if you choose.
So,
We need your name.
yeah, Rhonda, Inside City Limits. We have a lot of interest in the plant down there that Pacific Seafoods is operating, and I assume that there's, and I'm not wanting to speak for Pacific Seafoods, but I was just concerned because we had some dialogue with them and they weren't aware that this was coming up tonight and going to be a public hearing. I don't know if there was some miscommunication going on or...
They were aware. We had a conversation.
Okay, because they thought it was the 25th.
No, they were aware that there's a second one that will be on the 25th as well. So there's one tonight. Yeah, sorry for the back and forth. I
do. Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that they were going to be at the table.
Okay, so...
I'm sorry. Okay. And I wasn't sure, yeah, I have more questions, but I just wasn't sure about the square footage. Is it equivalent? I wasn't, and compared to what they're giving up to what they're getting. And if Lot 2A -1 was off the table totally, that it just isn't part of it.
Maybe make a note of these questions, and when we bring it back, we can get them, okay?
Yeah, I just wanted some clarification, and I was just concerned that since they weren't here tonight, that we needed to kind of express some concerns. If there's a lot there, and there's a lot of moving parts, and so I appreciate that. So.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Rhonda. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Okay, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council, and come on up. Do either of you want to address her question?
I would like to clarify, so this is the first of 2 agreements that we will see for this. This is a master agreement, and then we'll see a lease agreement following that. In conversations with Pacific Seafood, which have been ongoing for about 6 months, if not longer, we've been having a lot of back and forth and a lot of dialogue. So this contract was crafted in conjunction with them, and the intent was to get this passed tonight so that they can move forward on other aspects in their process, while then bringing back the final lease agreement at the next council meeting so that that has the stamp of approval as well. Doug, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, this is driven by Pacific Seafoods,
Yeah.
and we have had some communication things that they may or may not have passed from their corporate and their main group of their administration that comes back to the group here. They certainly work with their group here, but yeah, this whole agreement has been passed back and forth from Pacific to us, back and forth umpteen times trying to get everything back and get it right, where they agree to it, we agree to it. We're really trying to make this a win-win because we want Pacific Seafoods, Resurrection Bay Seafood, we want to be successful. They're a good company here, we don't want to see them go out. And that was part of this whole thing, trying to help them do a better business by being across and having a harbor and being able to unload and not be in the middle of it, not have to dredge, do different things. They are a huge part of this, and we wouldn't even be doing it if they weren't in favor of it at all.
Okay, council, questions, comments? Councilmember Finch?
Thank you, Member. Yeah, that was my only concern. I like the idea of the move. My only concern is like asbestos in the building. Are they gonna do the cleanup on that? Or if there's chemical spills, oil spills on the ground, their vehicles have been parked there for years, and that place has been open years. Are we facing another Jesse Lee home contamination thing? Or should the leaser be the one that pays for all of that?
So the cleanup of the area is a requirement of the lease. And so we've had great experiences with the termination of leases. Recently, we terminated the lease at Coast Guard building. We went through multiple walkthroughs, myself included, to make sure everything was returned to as the high level of standard so that we didn't incur any costs like that. Past situations, we can't speak to the mitigation or the, what's the word I'm looking for? The response to how those scenarios were left. But in this scenario, we are working very closely with them and will uphold the agreements to the lease that we already have in place to make sure things are returned to a standard that does not incur any any fiscal note to the city.
One question.
Go ahead.
Does that include us taking a soil sample to make sure there isn't a contamination that shows up later?
We could do something along those lines if directed by council. Usually, I'm thinking of the Coast Guard, and we did not do that since they took all of the, but they did also bring down a hazmat and make sure all of the oils were removed. So we will do our due diligence to make sure that it's returned to the highest standard.
Okay, because my concern and others is, how long has that place been open? I mean, 30, 40?
Off and on for a long, long time.
So there's vehicles there, there's heavy equipment running, oil spills, leakage, I just don't want to see the city having to foot the bill for contaminated soil.
Agreed.
I love the idea of putting them all over there. I miss them being able to feed the fish in the water, but okay, we'll go with that.
Well, eventually, it's just going to be so hard for them in the future years because of the tunnel. The tunnel does move south, the new tunnel, and just adds more. And right now, we have no intention of tearing that building down to do anything where we're going to expose asbestos or anything else. Maybe there is. I mean, 1980 was when that was planned, but there was a lot of...
And from the audience, it seems that there was no asbestos in the building.
We built that. There's no asbestos.
Yeah, so... there's definitely some real good things and more positives that'll come out here in the next meeting too.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Councilmember Barnwell?
That's good to hear there's no asbestos in there. But the wharf, taking out a wharf or pulling those wharf pilings out of there, that's on their dime?
We're not pulling them out.
We wouldn't pull them out.
So we would leave that wharf intact?
As I said, there's going to be some real good things coming out here in the next couple of meetings.
We'll be hearing.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then the other question I have is, I'm a little confused about master agreement versus lease agreement.
The master agreement sets up the framework so that they can move forward with some of the things that they need to do on the business end. So if there's three parties involved, us, Polar, and Pacific. Polar and Pacific need to have conversations that could be foiled by decisions made here. So we wanted to show our best intentions and our good faith saying, hey, this master agreement lays out what we all are intending, and it has been passed by council, so please go ahead and have any agreements that you need to make between Pacific and Polar, so that this all can move smoothly without any, in good faith.
Okay, so Polar's junk over the last 20 or 30 years?
Has been a very strong point of conversation as we've gone through all of these agreements.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Sounds like, and then with our passing this, that assumes the corrections that you mentioned.
Yes, we can take care of the housekeeping within that, and I appreciate the word housekeeping was escaping me earlier.
Anything else before we vote? Okay, Mr. Clerk?
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2025-074, Osenga,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Finch,
Yes.
Barnwell,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Okay, now I'm going to ask, do we need a break before we go on? We're all eager to keep going, all right. What's next is, we've moved off the consent agenda, Ordinance 2025-012, so that comes up now for introduction. Mr. Clerk, would you please read the title of that when you're ready?
Introduction of Ordinance 2025-012, amending Seward City Code Title III Personnel, Chapter 3.45, Annual Leave to include a paid parental leave policy.
Okay, and you'll find that on page 18 of the packet. And what I would need is a motion to introduce, and a second, please.
I'll motion to introduce.
Okay?
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to introduce 2025-012. Administration, I guess I'll bring it to you and you can do what you want with it.
I would pass it along to the sponsor of this ordinance, Councilmember Warner.
Okay.
Thank you. So I brought forward to council an ordinance 2025-012, amending Seward City Code Title III Personnel, Chapter 3.45, Annual Leave to include paid parental leave policy. My reasoning for bringing this forward is that paid family leave is a proven tool for improving maternal and infant health outcomes, reducing employee turnover, and supporting workplace equity. I think it's important that the city of Seward is a leader in this space to show our community, our broader community, as well as our business community, that we value our families and our children that are part of the broader Seward workforce, maybe not our children, but the families. And I would have liked to see this introduction go through on the consent agenda. So I am curious why it was pulled from the consent agenda. I don't know how to move forward.
No, that's okay. That's part of our discussion
Okay,
here.
perfect.
So, did you want to say anything else? And I'll turn it over to Councilmember Finch to explain.
I think that's fine.
Okay. Councilmember Finch.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is speaking of being in 5 different unions and helping start the prison's ACOA. I've dealt with people fostering children at the prison. We never denied them leave to go and do what they need to do. I'm sure you do the same thing, as if you have a individual that's having medical issues, family emergency, don't have enough leave, you collect leave and you feed it to them like we do. We have already in the family leave policy here, medical leave, we already have this in place. Family medical leave will be provided as required by state and federal law and case law in effect at the time the employees request family and medical leave. Eligible employees are entitled pursuant to state and federal law to take FMLE leave for the birth of a child of an employee, adoption of a child, or for the placement of a foster child, to care for the employee's spouse, son, daughter, parent, or serious injury. We already have this. Now, this is already in place. You're trying to get an additional 4 weeks paid leave for somebody dealing with these situations. What happens is, the wording should not say particularly for women and people of color. It should be spouse and domestic partner. Because myself, as a supervisor, had many of my staff that I gathered leave for so they can go take care of their wife in a complicated delivery, bedridden, all of that. Okay? Now this is fair across the board. It's for this is for every employee in the city. Okay? When you specifically try to get extra leave for somebody having a child, what about the career guy, the career woman, or worse yet, the couple that works for the city that cannot have children that they don't want to adopt. You're giving the other people a reward for having children, and there are people in this world that cannot have children. But they are career-based, they're here to live year-round in Seward. So the extra 4 weeks of pay you're wanting to give for foster care or childbirth, okay, you're at the final legal line as far as you're discriminating against ones that don't have kids or can't have kids. And we need to really look at that. I know this is from Anchorage. We need to focus on how we adapt things for Seward, okay? But we already have this in our leave policy. Okay, the foster care aspect of it, I worked with 2 people that were great for doing the foster care. It was amazing. They called middle of the night for all of that stuff. We never questioned it. But you all have heard of the foster care nightmares where people will, this would give some people in the world the opportunity to get 4 extra weeks of leave, paid leave, by fostering a child for 2 or 3 days till it's placed in the family. So we have it, we already have it in policy. It's in writing, the exact same thing here in writing.
You want to?
Okay?
Let me get Vice Mayor Osenga, and then we can come back.
I would just kind of like to make a point here that I think that our accepting this in introduction form, we lead us down a path to where we can have a discussion further with Councilmember Finch's concerns and any other concerns that are out there. I think right now I understand that some people might not be in favor of this, but they can vote no for introduction, but I would look to introducing it and then having a healthy discussion and public comments at our next meeting whenever it's brought forward or brought back.
Okay. We really can't make changes on introduction, correct, Mr. Clerk?
Correct, I
So-
would wait till the public hearing.
So
and the
if we
enactment.
vote, so in what we're discussing now really is whether to introduce or not, but to hear the questions too, I mean, now that we've taken it off, so that we're aware of what we will be discussing and considering when it comes back, if we introduce it tonight at the next meeting. So maybe we could make some changes or whatever, but I do have a question. Our policy has this?
So the policy and code is for FMLA, which is Family Medical Leave Act, and that is the guarantee that if you take time off for a child, you will not lose your job, but it is unpaid. So it's time off from work that is unpaid. This is a paid parental leave policy.
So it's slightly different thing, but that's, it's part of the discussion that we need to have. Is there anything, yes, Councilmember Wells?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that obviously bringing it forward for a public discussion and public hearing is a great thing. I would recommend that we do that on a day when our city attorney is available to answer contract questions and things like that.
So,
if possible.
Councilmember Wells, City Attorney Sam Severin will be here at the next council meeting. He couldn't make it tonight, but that would line up perfectly with the public hearing for this if it's introduced. Is that what you were hoping for?
Yes, Mr. Clerk. Thank you.
Would it be a public hearing item, Mr. Clerk?
It would be at the next meeting.
As we introduce
If it's introduced tonight.
Just to clarify, so people will get a chance at that point. Does that sound okay? Okay, are we ready to vote on introduction? And thank you for your input. Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Voting on the introduction of Ordinance 2025-012. Wells?
Yes.
Barnwell?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Finch?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure?
Yes,
That ordinance has been introduced.
and we will be hearing it then. So next, we're still forging along. Resolution, new business, Resolution 2025-075. Mr. Clerk, when you're ready to read that.
Resolution 2025-075, authorizing the city manager to enter into an independent contractor agreement with Selena Soto for GIS technical services and appropriating funds.
And you'll find that on page 147 of the packet. I need a motion to approve and a second, please.
I'll move for the approval of Resolution 2025-075.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is an agreement with Selena Soto, who has been doing our GIS services now for a few years, following a GIS needs assessment that the city did in 2021, which described the following, that we were recommended to have a full-time person dedicated to the tasks of cleaning up from past GIS issues and building for the future, an articulated need for an accurate and modern GIS system across all departments, and an accurate, up-to-date GIS system, which would save the city significant money in work efficiency and ensure accurate information in day-to-day work. Luckily for us at the time, Selena Soto was a city employee and living inside Seward, so we were able to create this agreement. Having somebody in that position who is both familiar with the city of Seward, familiar with the outlying areas and the needs of our community. We have had great success with her in this role, and this would be continuing her services with us for 2 years at a rate of $80 per hour, which does not increase her current rate. In contrast, we have contracted GIS services in the past at rates anywhere from $95 to $130 per hour, with some of them going as high as $220. And if you look on page 155 of the packet, we have a really great breakdown from Selena of some of the projects that she's been working on and some of the things that she's still ready and excited to work on. If you ever go on, I recently went online to look through the whole cemetery, and you're able to hover on and see all of the plots in the cemetery, which has been a really big help for the community. All of our short-term rentals and codes and things like that are shown in a map, and you can go through and see what the zoning is, what the short-term rental is, and all of the contracts and things along that side. Really, really great tools that we use on a daily basis and would like to continue to see growing in our city so that we can be more efficient, be more transparent with the community about the different things that we have going on in the different zones and all of those things, and just a really great opportunity to continue working with a contractor who has been a huge success with us so far.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I love the cemetery maps,
Yeah.
as you probably know. Okay, council, any questions, comments? Councilmember Barnwell.
I think it might be a good idea to get Selena and the community development to line out what that 40 hours a week, 50 hours, 50 weeks a year, what projects going forward. I know that we see this here, but it would just be nice to kind of set that up with maybe a little more detail. And then the other thing is that I don't know what Selena's credentials are for what she does. I know she was a GIS knowledge to some extent when she started here.
She has her master's degree in GIS.
Oh, thanks.
So qualified.
Yeah.
And that's why we discovered her because she was scanning for us, and she already had like a degree in GIS, and then she was continuing her work to get her master's and get other certifications. And so she wanted to, like, is it Penn State? Yeah, Penn State. And so she is continuing to do that, but she is definitely certified. I will have that.
Just curious, like, how do you guys know what quality work in that arena is? I mean, I wouldn't know what quality work is.
Because from working in previous contractors that we were paying $220 an hour for, that are these big companies, and they were wasting our money. And she is getting stuff that's done way more efficiently, and she knows everyone in the city. She knows Jason Canoyer. She can call up and say, like, hey, I need these extended. Jason, just put these in. Let's get that up to date on that map, so that way Jason doesn't have to go back and search in the Public Works archives to, like, find all these, like, maps to see where this water service was located, and it's now updated on the GIS, so we can see it in real time when he's out on the site. So
I remember when that all happened. I mean, she came upon where you guys came upon her as an asset. So it has been expressed to me by several people, that seems like a lot of money, but the way you've stated it, we would be paying more. I mean,
yes.
just so the public knows, I mean, this is probably a deal then with quality work. The fact that she doesn't live here, when you're doing that kind of work, it really doesn't matter unless, you know, she really wanted to go and see the location of the thing, because that's how GIS works. So.
And can I speak to one thing?
Oh, sure.
And I think too, that when I was a contractor before one time, when I worked in the tech industry, and so if you look at like $80 an hour, you're like, man, they're making a lot of money, but also too, if you're self-employed, it is like, that you have to pay for insurance, you have to pay for all these expenses, so that she's not getting paid. Like, she's not just taking $80 an hour and putting it in the bank. It's probably, I would say, like, I don't know what percentage it is, but it's definitely like not, so her actual like rate, that if you want to think of like a practical rate of paying her own, she probably has her own, pays for her own benefits, as an independent contractor, you know, health, all that kind of stuff. You have to subscribe to those things, and so really like, the $80 an hour, like her actual rate of what she feels is much, much lower than $80. So just to kind of give people an idea if you've never been a contractor before.
Okay, Councilmember Finch.
Thank you, Margaret. For Councilmember Morrow, I've seen the $220 work, and I've seen what she does, and we are getting quality compared to what we were paying expensively. Okay, and a nice, like I said, it's nice that she knows who to call and knows the layout. The other ones were contracted out, who knows where. So, but I would agree, I would like to see, you know, see her, let's say, next quarter layout of what the goals are.
Anything else? Are we ready to vote? Looks like we're ready to vote, Mr. Clerk.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2025-075. Wells?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
Finch?
Yes.
Barnwell?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Okay, we have one last item, which has been added, a discussion that Councilmember Warner added. Discussion, I believe, on dealing with the Narcan kits, correct? So do you want to kick that off?
Thank you, Mayor McClure. So I wanted to discuss this item because if the community is not aware, we had a recent fatal overdose in our community. And I feel I'm pretty disheartened that we have so many resources in our community around opioid prevention and rescue kits, and there was still a fatality in our community. This is something that's very dear to me personally. So I wanted to bring this discussion item to council and to the general public. I reached out to a number of our medical clinics and other behavioral health organizations in our community. Two, I did not get a response from. All the others did have some type of recovery kit, Narcan kits, fentanyl testing strips available, but there were various barriers. The one that I found to be the least, with the least amount of barriers is the one that's provided at Seward Providence Hospital. They have the Narcan kits with the fentanyl testing strips that are available at their security office. There's no cost, it's available 24/7. But still, that is a barrier, especially if somebody is using in our community, and even just to maybe come into town if they're not inside city limits, and to go and talk to a person face-to-face can be intimidating for someone who is struggling in active addiction. One of the things that came to my attention in some of these conversations with the organizations in our community that work on this was a proposal about having some type of public box available in the community that is accessible by anyone at any hour of the day with some discretion. So think about like the lending libraries you see, take a book, leave a book. There will be some Narcan kits that individuals can access. We know these overdoses are happening in our community. They're happening in public spaces at the library, at the Harbor Master, and other local places across our community. And I just want to get this resource out, because I do not want to hear about another fatal overdose. Every life is valuable, and everybody deserves to have a chance at recovery. So my ask in this discussion is to council and administration, is this something that we could potentially move forward with, looking at having some type of public box available with these rescue kits?
Thank you. I'd like to ask administration to comment on that, but also, is there any liability with having these available if things go wrong? So I'm directing it to administration right now, and then we'll get back to you, but, or...
Yeah, I'm looking at the chief of police, but I don't know if he has an answer.
I mean,
I'm just looking at him. Yeah, we would have to look into that and speak with the attorneys to see if there is any liability there. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, it's something I've never thought
Yeah.
of until you brought this up.
Yeah.
But did you want to comment, Chief?
No, I was just looking at him.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, that's
okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That was one of our concerns at the prison when we started using Narcan. The great thing about it is if you're having other medical issue and it's not an overdose, and I hit you twice with that, it's not going, it does just that. But yeah, we were concerned about that. And that was our biggest concern. Hey, are we liable if we administer? And they said no. If it's not an overdose, it's other medical issues, it's not going to affect that. My concern would be just having an open box, because I know I've heard of cases where some of them will take all the Narcan and then they're selling it. So I've heard of that. So.
Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Mayor McClure. Just in response to that, if somebody that's in active addiction takes all 3 Narcan kits and then distributes them to their friends, what is the harm in that? Maybe they're selling it, Safeway also sells it. So, I mean, if their friend's gonna sell it to them, it's maybe less of a barrier for them to become, have that resource available.
The chemistry of this amuses me and intrigues me as a chemist, so I've got to look into how in the heck does this work, and is there a danger of kids getting a hold of it and abusing, not as a drug, but just kids, you know, so not that that is a deterrent for me to have something like this go on, but just as a chemist, it's like, how does that work? Vice Mayor,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I would kind of suggest that we would maybe kind of have to look into this, and that I don't know if other communities are setting up programs like this, and maybe we don't have to really invent the wheel here, it's already been dealt with. And then, of course, getting with our attorneys. So I think that if we were to move, or to just suggest tonight, maybe we can look at things and then see what possible direction would be best for us to go. And I think other communities have already kind of tackled this. So maybe that's something that we can also look at.
So to direct administration to look in, check with the attorneys, but also possible locations for distribution.
If council would be amenable to directing administration to come up with a plan to create some sort of access point to Narcan, and then we can bring that, we can work with Providence and bring something back, more of a fully fleshed out thing to discuss and say, here are some locations we recommend, here's some sort of distribution to prevent any tampering, because we have had experience in the past with open items being tampered in general too, and we wouldn't want that to happen. So we can go through and see, we wouldn't want somebody to open the case and have empty things be in there as well. So we can go through and look to other communities and see how it's done, and work with Melody of our Providence and see what we can do.
I would suggest this is a fairly timely thing. So put it up there on the, I don't know how the rest of you feel, but it would be good to get on with it sooner rather than later. And thank you for bringing that up, because it's not something some of us would think of immediately, you know, as a project, and wonderful. Any other comments on that? Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have. I want to mention on August 25th at 5:30, we have the very exciting presentation from our Altman Rogers, our auditors, on our audit findings, and we did good this year, but yeah. Anyway, that's a work session, and then the regular meeting will be at 7 p.m., which is going to prove to be a pretty heavy meeting, I think, so it's one to watch, maybe on YouTube with your cat, you never know. Okay, this brings us to citizen comments. There's no sign up, and you can speak for 5 minutes on any topic if you would like, and you just have to come up, and once again, just so it's on the record, your name and inside, outside city limits.
Shane Hand, Inside City Limits. Again, speaking on behalf of my SPIA members as the president of the union. I just want to talk to the fact that Councilmember Finch had, mentioned the Federal Medical Leave Act, and that is a federal program, and our city manager, Ms. Sorensen, was very much correct. It is guaranteed leave, but without pay. And the biggest thing, I think, when we talk about automatically giving a certain demographic extra 4 weeks or whatever, and it reminded me of what Margaret Miss Anderson said, is if you try to please all, you don't please none. This might not affect the people that are either deciding not to have children or cannot have children or not, but it does affect, it can help and benefit the people that do have children. And just keep in mind, the city is we feel very blessed to have the benefits and everything we do that is provided by employment with the city, i.e. personal time, paid time off. But in all seriousness too, when you're first starting with your career with the city, you do start with 4 weeks paid time off, but you accrue that time. And at a rate of, I think, 6.13 hours per pay period. So we're looking at 12 hours, a little over 12 hours, 13 hours a month. And if you do your due diligence through your probation period, don't take any time off, you'll get yourself a little starting nest egg. But at the beginning, starting next egg, 6 months accrual, that's 2 weeks, that's 80 hours. So it's really hard, especially at the beginning of your career with the city, to have that extra paid time off and bank time, set aside for whether it's maternity leave or a sickness of the family or caregiving, however it is if you don't take a day off for 6 months, you'll have 2 weeks. 2 weeks goes away real fast. 80 hours goes away real fast. Now, as you work with the city much longer, your accrual rates go up and everything, and you start accumulating a lot more time to where you could potentially weather a storm, whether it's a surgery or, whatever. But most people, when they're looking at the FMLA Act, it's nice to know that you're not going to lose your job because you're not there anymore, but it doesn't pay the bills. So it is really hard to accumulate and keep that piggy bank set up. Because we all throw our back out and we're out for work for 3 days. Well, that's 24 hours right there, which is 2 months accrual, if you don't take another day. So it goes away real fast. The other thing too, you make a very good point as far as other unions being able to, sort of support their member base and everything, and be able to come up with some donating leave time and everything. I very much have looked into that, and I'm as a union president, as a somewhat younger union, we are sort of growing as we go along, and I definitely would envision something that down the line to where we could support our member base, but we don't have anything in place right now. Our union leave is specifically for union business, so that'd be something that our organization, aside from the city, would have to work within our own constitution and bylaws on that. And like I said, I would put that on my to-do list as the president. So hopefully we can work towards that as a collective bargaining, as a member-based group. But in the meantime, I think a program like this would be very beneficial, and maybe it might not solve all the problems for everybody or make everybody happy, but it'll get, it'll make a step in the right place, in the right direction. So I look forward to your guys' discussion on that in work session or public hearing session on it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Name's Christiana Smith, living outside of Seward city limits. I just wanted to come up and speak that FMLA is different than paid family leave. They're two different things, and I think it is important to invest some of the comments that were said tonight. Foster families are at a really great need right now, so any way to benefit them. What I heard spoke to was emergency foster, which might be that midnight call and could just be a couple days to a week or more. I don't believe this would necessarily fall within that, or like somebody would be able to get 4 additional weeks because they did an emergency foster for 2 to 3 days. That's how I'm reading the ordinance. Of course, there's probably going to be, need to be policy and procedures put in place based on the ordinance going to public hearing, which I will be back for. So I do thank everyone for allowing this ordinance to be introduced and to be open for public hearing in 2 weeks. The last couple of months, I've been attending the planning and zoning meetings. Sometimes I'm the only one there that stays for the entirety of the meetings, and I live outside Seward city limits. I am finding it very beneficial for me to attend those meetings and work sessions, and I just wanted to bring that forward to everyone who's watching or listening, that there will be a work session on Tuesday, August 19th at 6 p.m. in the council chambers in City Hall, discussing parking requirements and reform ideas in commercial zoning districts. I believe this is very important for everyone that uses parking in Seward to have a voice in this, and if you also feel, then I encourage everyone that can to attend that or give comments to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They work really hard at what they do, and I do appreciate the ideas and points of view that do get discussed in the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings.
Thank you. Anyone else? Connor?
Taylor Crocker, inside city limits. And I just wanted to come up real quick and plug our SewardSurvey.com. So it's the electric department survey. We just want to hear back from the community, and then we're going to use the comments and, well, the trending comments that we get to organize some town halls at the Ray Building. So then anyone in the community that wants to come down, we'll kind of show the community what we're up to, different projects and whatnot, and then also cover kind of the most trending citizen comments that come back on those surveys. So we're sitting at about 200 right now. I can't remember whatever community development got back for surveys, but I'm hoping to beat whatever that number is. So anyway, if anyone's listening, please go to SewardSurvey.com and take it, and we'd love to hear what you have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. They'll bring it back to us. Council and administration comments and responses to citizen comments. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I apologize for stepping out real quick. I got attacked by a cough, so then I lost my train of thought. Thank you, everybody, for all the comments tonight. Tomorrow, I will be heading up to Anchorage. I have a meeting with MEA in the morning to talk about next stages in the contract, as that is expiring at the end of the year, and working in conjunction with the town halls and the surveys to see next steps. So we are working towards finishing up, or starting the conversations on the next steps in that contract, and looking forward to that meeting tomorrow in Anchorage. And then I'm also attending the United States Coast Guard dinner tomorrow night with the Harbor Master, Tony Szyminski, which will be a really exciting opportunity for us to talk about all of the great opportunities in Seward for the Coast Guard, and what all the nice, beautiful property over there will look like once it's cleaned up a little bit too. So looking forward to that, and look forward to relaying how that goes at the next council meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Bickling.
No comments, thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Warner, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Mayor McClure. I do have a couple of things. So first, the Sedona Animal Clinic will be hosted at our local animal shelter later this week. So if your pets need a checkup or any vaccines, now's the time to schedule that. You can call the Sedona Animal Clinic and get that scheduled. Also would like to note that the middle school and high school open house is Tuesday, August 15th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. with a spaghetti dinner at 5 p.m. at the high school. Elementary open house dates are still to be determined. PTA membership renewal is open for registration. You can find it on the Seward PTA website. The first PTA meeting is Thursday, August 14th at 6 p.m. in the high school library. And the first day of school is Wednesday, August 20th. I would also like to congratulate Tracy Squires. She currently is the lead in the Seward Silver Salmon Derby with a silver salmon of 15 pounds and 26 ounces, right? So those are my things, and thank you everyone for the great meeting tonight.
You took everything I was going to say.
Wrote it all down.
Councilmember Barnwell.
Great meeting. I'm not going to talk, believe it or not. I'm just going to say thanks for the Seward Education Advocates for their presentation. It's a huge project they have going there, and I really wish all the best for them. Otherwise, I'm good. Thank you.
Councilmember Wells.
I'm going to take Councilmember Barnwell's lead and not speak, believe it or not.
Okay.
See, that's how you do that.
Councilmember Finch.
Thank you, Member. I agree with the Seward School. They do amazing things, and I'd like to see them continue further. The Narcan thing, I've dealt with it. I understand the importance of it. I've used it. I've seen the results. We need to get something where it's getting out there more. I thought that it was out there more than what it is. For Shane Hans, the union guy, I've been there, done that, starting a new union and supporting it. Please get a hold of me and I will help you get a hold of the individual that will give him great education to help out all his members. And everybody just be safe during the Derby. It's rough weather looking, it's gonna be sunny.
Okay, Vice Mayor Osenga.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, thanks to the Seward Education Advocates for their presentation. I think it was pretty informative, and I do believe that education is one of the foundations of a good community, and I would hope that we would be able to keep our community sound with a good foundation of education, and I would hope that that's going to become something that will come to fruition. Good luck to all participants of our Silver Salmon Derby, and yes, congratulations to Tracy Squires for the lead. Fingers are crossed that it holds out. And then I am really interested in this possible electric generation plant on the mountain. I'm just really looking forward to hearing more about that, and maybe if it can be put in service or not, or even, whatever. It's good. It's real interesting to me, so thank you, everybody.
Well, what they said, I was definitely going to mention school starting, and with school starting means a change in the patterns of kids on the street and this and that too, so just to be cautious. And thanks to the education advocates, I think it's important for us always to do the best we can with such things. I mean, I would just love to go teach at the high school. In fact, I bought my property when I was teaching chemistry and physics in Fairbanks at the high school there. I bought the property where my house is because it was walking distance to the high school, and I always wanted to come back and teach this, be the science teacher at the high school, but then, I got locked into a really group of friends, and you know how life goes, and I never managed to do that. I also bought it because of its proximity to the cemetery, believe it or not, so I do have that passion for cemeteries and obituaries. I also wanted to mention that this weekend, there was a funeral I went to, there was a graveside, and there was a celebration of life, and it's the kind of thing those are the kind of things that people keep commenting to me that it brings everyone together, because afterwards we're all sharing in a common sort of bond, And yet you see people that you don't normally see all the time. And the suggestion was made to me, I'm mentioning it tonight because somebody has to hear this, that wouldn't it be nice if sometime somebody could organize a non-funeral get-together where we just want to get together, like in the middle of the winter, go like wherever we would do it, and with the intent of just communicating with each other and hanging out and sharing stories about whatever we want to share. With that in mind, I'll be speaking more at the next meeting about it, but Founder's Day is coming up. And as RBHS president, part of what we're doing on Founder's Day on the 28th between 4 and 6 is because we've lost so many members in the last couple of years, we're going to have a display or an area sort of commemorating some of the folks that have passed. And there will be some sharing there, and also music and a lot of things, which I'll talk about later. But we have a good community. We've got a lot of good people and some history, and it would be good to be sharing that as much as we can, I think. And with that in mind, is there anything else? Okay, I will adjourn this meeting at 8:50.